Greetings, fellow thrill-seekers and lovers of the macabre. Do you find yourself drawn to the chilling whispers of the unknown, the spine-tingling tales that make your heart race and your palms sweat? If you're a fan of horror like me, there's nothing more enticing than a story that blurs the line between reality and the supernatural. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of darkness, exploring a tale that has haunted America for decades. We're not talking about some obscure, half-forgotten legend. No, we're venturing into the infamous Amityville house, a place that has become synonymous with terror. So, buckle up my friends, as we journey into the shadows where fact and fiction intertwine and the line between the living and the dead is blurred. Let's start. On the chilling night of November 13, 1974, the quiet town of Amityville was shattered by a horrifying act of violence. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son of the DeFeo family, committed an unthinkable crime. As his family, his parents and 4 siblings, lay sleeping, DeFeo, driven by an inexplicable force, methodically shot each one of them with a shotgun. Upon discovering the bodies, DeFeo, in a state of faint shock, ran to the local police station, claiming that his family had been murdered by the mafia. The police, however, were not easily fooled. As they combed through the crime scene, they found evidence that pointed directly at DeFeo. The supposed mafia hit was quickly dismissed as a cover-up story, and within 2 days, DeFeo was charged with 6 counts of second-degree murder.
I fucked up.
During the trial, DeFeo's attorney, William Weber, argued for his client's insanity, claiming that DeFeo was in a state of paranoid psychosis when he committed the murders. However, the jury sided with the prosecution, who argued that despite his mental illness, DeFeo knew that his actions were wrong. He was sentenced to 6 concurrent life sentences. But the story does not end there. DeFeo later claimed that he was not acting of his own volition during the murders. He insisted that he was driven by voices in his head, voices that were not his own. Pinwheels in my head! This chilling revelation added a supernatural twist to the already gruesome tale, setting the stage for the eerie events that were to follow. Could it be that the DeFeo family was not just the victim of their son, but also of a malevolent force that resided within the walls of their own home? The terror was just beginning. After the gruesome murders, Ronald DeFeo Jr. shocked everyone by pleading not guilty, insisting that he was under the influence of otherworldly voices that commanded him to commit the heinous act. This claim, while dismissed by the court, added an eerie layer of mysticism to the already horrifying story. Reports of unexplained phenomena began to circulate, with even the police noting an unusual number of flies buzzing around the crime scene. The house seemed to be shrouded in an ominous aura, a chilling reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. Enter George Lutz, a man with a keen interest in the supernatural. In 1975, Lutz, along with his wife and 3 children, moved into the infamous house, undeterred by its dark history. Lutz, a former Marine and a self-proclaimed dabbler in the occult, was drawn to the house, intrigued by its past and the inexplicable events that had taken place. However, the Lutz family's fascination soon turned into terror. Within 15 minutes of moving in, their dog attempted to hang itself with its own color. The house began to reek of an unidentifiable stench, and their daughter claimed to have an invisible friend. The family reported being woken up every night at 3:15 a.m., the exact time of the DeFeo murders. The paranormal activities escalated to such an extent that the Lutz family was forced to flee their home after just 28 days. The family's experience were nothing short of terrifying. I was possessed by a spirit that I could not get rid of on my own, George Lutz would later reveal in an interview. His wife, Kathy, reported being levitated 2 feet off her bed.
Oh, that goes good.
That goes good. That goes good.
And their children were terrorized by unseen entities. So the house seemed to be alive, and its walls echoing with the cries of its past.
What kind of things, George, happened physically? What were some of the things that happened that scared you?
Within a week, Kathy's hand had been touched by something that we discussed and couldn't explain. It was just something unseen.
Now, flies can be a real problem in this part of the country in the summer,
Sure.
in any house, you know.
Talking over 100.
Oh, this was the winter.
Yes.
And you're talking about how many?
Over 100.
This green slime comes out of the walls, right? George, did that happen?
Gelatin kind of substance that we thought the children had somehow mixed something up and spilled it around the house. The next time it happened, the kids were at school, and there was just no way to explain how it got there.
You know, a contractor or a carpenter or anybody to come and look and try to
We had
Sure.
several repairmen come in. Telephone repairman came 3 times because each time we would try and communicate with the priest, we would run into faulty connections.
Somebody inspect the entire heating system. Goodness knows those of us who live in the North know what can happen with heating systems in a house, especially old houses. George, there was also something about black in the toilets, the water black and making the ceramic, the bowls or whatever
The
black.
china itself, it wasn't in the water. The china itself turned.
Had either of you had any experience before with the occult or the supernatural, ever before?
We didn't believe in it.
Were you afraid for your children? Why didn't you leave earlier than the 28 days if you were terrified?
Well, it was our house. First of all, we had never intended to give it up. Even after we moved out, we intended to find out what was wrong and move back in there.
You played George in the movie, and you did research this and worked on it and so forth. You smiled. Do you believe them?
Do I? Yeah, when I'm sitting here with them, yes, I do. And I've watched George, and I've watched, you've been an actor, David, and you kind of know how to watch for telltale signs when you're doing research and watching to people, and we also, well, you get an insight. And I can't say that looking over the story, I believe the book as it's presented totally.
The Lutz family's ordeal ended when they finally fled the house, leaving behind all their belongings. But the memory of the terrifying experience lingered, casting a long, dark shadow over the house on 112 Ocean Avenue. The haunting of the Amityville house remains one of the most famous cases of paranormal activity to date. Whether you choose to believe it or not, one thing is certain. Something sinister happened in that house. Something that continues to send chills down our spines.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Now, let's plunge into the shadowy abyss of uncertainty. Was the Amityville haunting a bone-chilling encounter with the supernatural, or something far more mundane yet equally sinister? The question has been the subject of heated debates, with skeptics and believers locked in an internal tug-of-war over the truth. The skeptics' case is intriguing to say the least. They point to the involvement of one William Weber, the defense attorney of Ronald DeFeo Jr. Weber, who had a vested interest in the sensationalism of the case, made a startling revelation in a press interview. But before we get to that, let's consider the facts. The Lutzes, after the harrowing 28-day stay in the house, were quick to share their experience with the world. They gave press conferences, cooperated with author Jay Anson for his book The Amityville Horror, and even participated in a made-for-TV movie. All of these ventures were commercially successful, leading some to question the authenticity of their claims. Were the Lutzes truly victims of a haunting, or were the shrewd entrepreneurs capitalizing on a tragic murder case?
Ah! It's not a liquid!
Now, back to Weber. He claimed that he and the Lutzes had concocted the entire haunting story over a bottle of wine. According to him, the Lutzes did experience some strange occurrences in the house, but it was with his guidance that they embellished these experiences into full-blown hauntings. The infamous green slime? That was inspired by the blood at the crime scene. The swarms of flies? Borrowed from the flies present at the crime scene. Adding to the skepticism is the fact that subsequent residents of the house reported no paranormal activity. The Cromartie family, who moved into the house in 1977, lived there for a decade and repeatedly told the press they'd never seen anything unusual. Instead, they complained about being haunted by paranormal tourists who knocked on their door at all hours of the day and night.
There have been a lot of other things that have happened during this case where unusual deaths, but you know, it's got to be attributed to coincidence, nothing else.
There's a heaven, there's a hell, there are prayers that are answered, there are spirits, there are ghosts. We want to believe in that kind of phenomena. We have a need to. And with that need comes the gullibility factor, frankly, when somebody says, oh, this is a true story.
Do I believe that they were in that house for 28 days? No. Categorically, undeniably, no.
I think that they had this whole thing planned, and they were going to write a book about it and make themselves a lot of money. And, you know, they did.
If a story sounds like it's too good to be true, it probably is. And this was exactly a perfect example of this, possibly the most monumentally successful example of that I've ever encountered, and probably ever will encounter in my lifetime. I don't think we'll ever see another Amityville, or I hope not.
unless we get a spirit who actually shows up and explains it on camera, which I doubt is going to happen, we're not going to know. So we will keep pursuing the elusive thing, whatever that thing is.
The current inhabitor of the house doesn't believe in any of it. Belief or disbelief has nothing to do whatsoever with what happens. I wish him well. I hope that spontaneous fires will not disturb his sleep or whatever else he does. And I wait for the headlines if and when they occur.
Because the house has never been haunted. It isn't haunted today. And the Lutzes, they have my congratulations. They made a very successful commercial venture, and they pulled the wool over the public's eyes.
So, was the Amityville haunting real or a well-crafted hoax? The evidence seems to suggest the latter. The Lutz's financial gains, Weber's admission, and the lack of subsequent paranormal activity all point to a chilling conclusion. The Amityville haunting may have been a carefully orchestrated scam, a ghost story spawned not by restless spirits, but by cunning minds seeking to profit from a tale of terror. As we draw the curtains on this eerie tale, we're left with a chilling narrative that has seeped into the very fabric of pulp culture. The Amityville horror, whether a genuine haunting or an elaborate hoax, has left an indelible mark on the world of horror and beyond. It has inspired a slew of books, movies, and TV shows, each adding its own spin to the tale, each further entrenching the story in the annals of horror lore. From Jay Anson's best-selling book to the Hollywood blockbuster, and even to the countless references in TV shows and other horror films, the Amityville horror has become a cultural phenomenon. But as we delve into these tales of the unknown, it's crucial to remember that not everything that glitters is gold, and not every ghost story is as it seems. The Amityville horror serves a stark reminder of the power of storytelling and the lengths to which some will go to spin a tale that captivates, terrifies, and ultimately sells. So, as we switch off the lights tonight, remember to question the stories you hear. Look beyond the surface, delve into the facts, and always keep your skepticism handy. After all, in the world of the unknown, the only certainty is uncertainty. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey into the heart of the Amityville horror. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more tales from the crypt of the unknown, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the Den of Unknown. Until next time, friends.